Welcome back to the Pleb Underground, everyone. I am your host, Phil. Hope you guys had a great weekend. We've got a lot of stories to dive into. I picked four, right? Four stories that we are going to cover. We're going to run through them, take a look. That's right, guys. The bull run. We are in the midst of the bull run. We're going to take a look. The four stories we're going to take a look at are, is AI a crypto scammer deterrent? That's right. Toxicat tagged us in a post that, honestly, I did not expect AI to... I just didn't expect that to happen, right? I didn't expect AI to actually combat scammers, but yet here we are. For the older Bitcoiners that are familiar with the Lightning Torch, the Lightning Trust Chain, you might be a little, you might be feeling a little nostalgic because apparently Ethereum has completely run out of ideas, and we are going to take a look at their latest grift to get people excited about a no supply cap proof of stake affinity scam. Anyways, moving on, we're also going to take a look at El Salvador's Bitcoin mystery. I kind of feel like it's Schrodinger's cat here. You know, there's it's probably a bad analogy, but essentially you've got Nayib Bukele, who's claiming to be stacking sats and stacking Bitcoin. You got the IMF saying, no, we haven't seen a Bitcoin purchase. And then you have a whole bunch of people in between, right? Us plebs essentially coming up with, random narratives as to, is El Salvador still stacking Bitcoin? Are they adding one new Bitcoin per day? I don't know. IMF doesn't seem to think so. And finally, is the UK going to have fun staying poor? That's right, guys. We're going to dive into all that stuff. But first, you know the deal. Some love to the Pleb Underground sponsor. And we'll be right back. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. All right, so let's dive into it. That's right, guys. This is why I made the comment about the bull run, being in the midst of the bull run. Look at that interest over time. We're back. This is what it takes, right? People all of a sudden searching for Bitcoin. The funny thing about this, right? Somebody pointed out a few weeks ago. They're like, why isn't the trend coming back? It's like, because everybody already knows about it. So, anyways, look, take this with a grain of salt. Take it for what it's worth. I mean, look, we're dead at like 118K or 116K or whatever it is, and I'm not being truthful about saying Bitcoin is dead. I'm being facetious, right? We're dead at 116K. So take this for what you will. All right, let's dive into how AI is stopping the scammers. So shout out to Toxicat, like I said, fellow Bitcoiner and pleb. He tagged me in this. It's a Zach XBT post. Love Zach XBT. Does a lot. It does probably the best crypto sleuthing in the space. So, Crypto Rover tagged Grok to select a winner. That's right. Select a winner for a giveaway. And it began replying about his involvement in pump and dump schemes. You can't even make this up, guys. Cannot make this up. Okay, let's go take a look. So here we go. Crypto Rover's post. Hey, Grok, Ethereum just hit $3,750 as promised. You need to pick someone from the comments who follows me. All right, let's see what Grok's response was on that one. That's not so good, huh? All right, so here we go. This was Grok's response. I'm back, and I won't ditch you. However, after reviewing substantiated reports of Rover CRC's involvement in pump and dump schemes per Zach XBT, I'll abstain from selecting a winner to prioritize community safety. Stay vigilant in crypto. That's right. And you can see that there's multiple responses of the same style. So look, you know what? Maybe the AI evil overlords, maybe they're not going to be so evil, right? Maybe they're not going to be so evil because apparently they're stopping us from, or trying to stop us from getting scammed, right? Anyways, all right. I'm glad to see we've got AI on our side, at least for now. until we get a more evil, sinister version of the AI who actually wants to help rug pull us. I mean, it could even be said that it is actually kind of, in a way, helping to rug pull us by making us more dependent on AI and its ability to spew out answers and explanations rather than using this thing. All right, so moving on, we are going to move on to, let's see here. Yes, of course. Okay, so look, for the older Bitcoiners, that were here back in the day, okay, this is 2019. This is when Lightning had about maybe 500 Bitcoin, okay, in channels. And right now we're at over 5,000. So a 10x in 6 years. So the guys who are telling you that Lightning is dead, I don't know what metric they're using and I don't know what mental gymnastics they're doing, but a 10x in liquidity on an open protocol in 6 years, I'm not going to call that dead. I'm not going to call that dead at all. Anyways, so for the people who don't know, HODL is the one who started the Lightning Trust Chain. And unlike the Ethereum publicity stunt to be able to dump out of their painful positions, HODL was experimenting, right? And there was a bunch of us that had been setting up Lightning nodes. There was this service that he's mentioning right here, tippin.me. And yeah, he wanted to see how many people, right? Look, I'm going to send 100K sats with tippin.me to the first person I choose to trust that replies to this. That person adds 10K and sends 110K to someone, either from a reply to a new tweet or this thread, and so on. How many sats before it breaks? And the Lightning Trust Chain was born. I participated in this as well. Of course, I'm gonna flex that, right? How could I not? That was, first of all, that was one of the Lightning Trust Chain was one of the first times I got to actually figure out if my Lightning node was going to work. I was one of the lucky people who was running a Lightning node, and I was not using a custodial wallet, right? A third-party wallet that was connecting to third-party custody. I was using my own node with my own liquidity, and it was absolutely awesome. It was a really great experience. It was really interesting to see, believe it or not, right? That the Lightning Trust Chain did end, and they did end up donating everything to, I believe it was Bitcoin Venezuela. Granted, there were like 3 people that stole the chain in between, right? Because essentially what would happen is that, you know, you would provide an invoice and somebody would pay it, and now all of a sudden you would have the sats. Well, guess what? At some point, right, it became like, over 1 million sats, right? Over 1% of a Bitcoin, then 2% of a Bitcoin, and so on. So of course, right, people got greedy. But what was really interesting was to see that people, when the chain was stolen, other people were stepping up to add to it and keep it going, because it was super interesting. And of course, right, it went to all kinds of famous Bitcoiners, and unfortunately, some shitcoiners, of course, had to use it as a spectacle. I remember Justin Suntron, who was so fascinated. He was like, "The Bitcoiners have passed us the torch. It's our turn." I was like, "Whoa, relax, bro, relax. Okay, you just got an invoice for some sats. That's it. Like, nobody's validating your shitcoin." Anyways, that whole long drawn out story to say Ethereum. That's right, guys. There we go. Ethereum decided to do their own little torch. And of course, gotta love HODL's take. Copy something real, decentralized and organic, centralize it, and make it a calculated PR stunt. Check, check. Pre-pick torchbearers. That's not something that happened with Bitcoin. It was just randos. It was all of us plebs, right? A bunch of us plebs, and then some bigger accounts got involved. This was grassroots and organic. It was beautiful. It was not like this exact gimmick fiat marketing crap. Okay, and here it is. It's an NFT. It's a JPEG. A JPEG of the ETH logo with a bunch of flames around it. That's what you're getting. Okay, and this is what's great. From Ethereum, look, number 1, torchbearers from across the global ecosystem will hold the torch for 24 hours before passing it to the next. So now you're given rules, right? This is so typical of a gated system, right? They're giving you the rules for it. They're telling you how long you have to hold the torch, and of course, they're letting you know who is going to have that torch. Ethereum Joseph, or for the people who don't remember, that is Joseph Lubin, right? Joseph Lubin, who was one of the architects, so to speak, of Ethereum, right? He did a really great job selling the pre-mined tokens of ETH. He did a great job setting up consensus. And anyways, guys, look, this is all just absolute marketing nonsense. Nice try, ETH. You're never going to be able to. You're never going to be able to reinvent the magic. Okay, stop trying. It's just embarrassing. It really is embarrassing, and that's why I'm making fun of it. Anyways, okay, ETH down bad. Yeah, it is such a scam. All right, let's see. What else are we looking at? Okay, so next, El Salvador. Right? Like, what's going on? What's going on in El Salvador? So, El Salvador's reported Bitcoin accumulation was due to internal wallet moves, not new purchases since February 2025, per the IMF report, contradicting Nayib Bukele's 1 BC per day claim. Okay. So, I get a little confused about this one. So, this is the whole thing, right? Could the IMF be lying? Why not? Right? That's not out of the realm of possibilities. Could Nayib Bukele be lying to save face? Also, not out of the realm of possibilities. Who's more incentivized to lie? I wonder. I don't actually think Nayib Bukele is as incentivized to lie as the IMF, because he's actually stacking Bitcoin, right? Like, that country actually has Bitcoin. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% convinced that he is that incentivized to lie. On the other hand, the IMF creates money out of nothing under the guise of using commodities, their special drawing rights, the SDRs. Essentially, this is a fake money that the IMF creates under the guise of being backed to what is it? A basket of different commodities and currencies and stuff like that. It doesn't make a difference. Okay, it doesn't matter what you call it. The point of the matter is that it's not real money, and they issue this debt to countries, and then these countries end up in debt forever. And of course, in good salesman fashion, the IMF always points to one or two survivors and goes, "You see, those guys made it okay. So we're not actually ruining your country with our debt." So I do believe that the IMF is much more incentivized to believe that El Salvador has not been stacking since February. Now, Sani XP also brought up a good point, right? Sani XP, the on-chain sleuth, right? The fellow pleb on-chain sleuth. He brought up a good point that essentially El Salvador could be mining Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin that they're mining, like, would that be registered there, right? Like, so it's not to say that they haven't been purchasing a Bitcoin, right? They could have been mining one Bitcoin. So all of this to say, take it with a grain of salt, right? The whole entire IMF thing. Like, look, they really, in my eyes, the IMF lost face with El Salvador. Okay, and I get that El Salvador took that loan from them and everything, and I also think that kind of sucked, right? I mean, I've said it many times. I definitely think that it sucked, but I also would like to imagine that there's some, there's a greater plan to this, right? There's a greater plan for El Salvador to do this. So, right, I'm sticking with my hopium. I'm liking it. Anyways, yeah, the IMF down bad. All right, so stacking, not buying. Exactly, Torip, right? They're stacking it, man. They're not buying it. They're freaking mining it. Anyways, I'd like to believe they are. Right? I would. I think, again, like I said, I think the IMF has way more face to save than El Salvador does. Okay, they are like, he's rebuilding a country. So you know what? It's like we've already seen the news, right? We've already seen the dirty laundry, right? Nobody's really aware of the IMF's dirty laundry because those businesses, corporations, whatever the hell you want to call them, they don't have to air it out. Neither does El Salvador, for that matter, but I'd like to believe that Nayib Bukele is a little bit more of a transparent dude. Okay, so moving on to the final piece of the puzzle. That's right. I had to go look this up because what an interesting, the Chancellor of Exchequer. Is that even, I don't think I pronounced that right. Maybe it's pronounced executor. I don't know. Anyways, Rachel Reeves, right? The UK is eyeing to dump their Bitcoin to help plug a financial black hole. Apparently, not everybody agrees with this. Got a little video here to share. We're going to pull this up and take a watch. Let's do it.
Sort of can he move this?
I don't think so, actually, mainly because it would almost, I think, be for Rachel Reeves what selling the gold was for Gordon Brown. I don't see any indication that Bitcoin, the value of it is set to fall. If anything, it's continually rising. And whilst it may be a short-term solution to Rachel Reeves' problems, I can very much imagine in 5 years or so, if Bitcoin continues its meteoric rise, that Rachel Reeves will be completely condemned for selling such a huge amount of wealth at a market level that would then prove quite low. The problems, of course, of Rachel Reeves, I would argue, are of her own making. So to be, basically...
Not totally of her own making.
Largely. I mean, she told us last year, of course, that she'd fixed the foundations, that it was a one-off set of tax rises, and now, because of various U-turns and growth has been paltry for all sorts of reasons, she's now having to scrabble down the back of the proverbial sofa and is looking at sort of selling the family silver for short-term fundraising, and I think that's unconscionable.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, something I learned is that a wise person learns from somebody else's mistakes, right? So, you'd think the UK would have learned from Germany's mistake of selling before Bitcoin's epic run. Right? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Silent. I mean, and my favorite thing though, is when they try to dangle this carrot in front of you where they tell you, oh look, it's just going to be this one-time tax. I still remember when Canada put in the GST and Quebec put in the TVQ. Okay, right? Because I'm originally from Canada. I'm originally from Montreal. So I obviously, I grew up listening to to those politics. Well, here we are 30-something years later. Neither of those taxes have been removed. None of them were temporary. So this kind of shell game that people play like this, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't make a difference. And actually, to the point here of Chris, yes, this is what it's funny that you mentioned this, right? It's funny that you mentioned this. Yes, right? Let them sell it. Who cares? Who cares? Like, the people that sit there that want countries to hold Bitcoin, like, I guess this is the last piece that I wanted to say specifically about Rachel Reeves, right? When it comes to this, countries, as individuals, we understand Bitcoin's qualities. But for some reason, once a person gets into the government, right, like somehow it's like their brain is removed and like the group brain is added in. I don't quite understand it. But just maybe, there is some serious 5D chess going on here. And the people are like, right, because you're an individual. And let's say you work for the government. Let's say you're in position to make these kinds of decisions. Like, let's say you're a hodler and you didn't stack enough. Well, maybe you're going to want to motivate your government to dump their bags, right? As Chris indicated, please sell more BTC for the plebs. So just maybe, this is the type of game theory that is playing out. I know it's total hopium. It's total hopium, but why not, right? Why not? Like, the whole point is that we're supposed to look at this information and we're supposed to extrapolate out of it, right? We're supposed to try to figure out, like, what are the causes? What are the mechanisms? What do I take from this, right? Simply memorizing and regurgitating data, anybody can do that. It's nonsense. It doesn't provide any value at all. Like, we're supposed to extrapolate out of this stuff. Anyways, guys, that's it for today. I think the UK is going to have fun staying poor. I don't have a lot of faith in Rachel Reeves. However, I've got a lot of faith in plebs getting another chance to stack, because guess what, guys? I'm calling it right now. I don't think the four-year cycle is over. I don't think that all of these Bitcoin treasury companies are going to stop the impending bear market. All of the crap that I'm seeing with these shit coins and the fact that governments are still just totally not understanding Bitcoin. Sorry, guys. It's not history repeating itself. It's just human behavior. Okay? So get ready, because I think we're going to see some fireworks. I've been saying it for months. It's coming. The fireworks are coming. All right, guys. That's all for me today. Take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.